Hello everyone and welcome to our YouTube channel. My name is Melissa Mata and I'm with the Culture Club and I'm sitting here with our Pro-Vigil founder, Jeremy White. It's been 17 years, Jeremy. Are you excited?
Always.
September 15th is the day.
Every year.
Man, yes. Well, we're so excited to have you here. We have some questions for you. We'd love to hear about some of the history of Pro-Vigil and where it all came from.
Great.
So tell me, what inspired you to start this company?
Oh, goes way back. Parents both were teachers. They never told me no. It was, you have to find a way to pay for half of whatever it was. Back then it was Guess jeans and in the mid 80s, or and two educators who chose the path of education and being home early and raising your kid and not working late and weekends and there's trade-offs. And my dad said, from a very young age, you can borrow the lawnmower if you want to. And I must have mowed every yard in my neighborhood for a number of years. Never set a price, always let them pay me based on how they thought I did my job. One, I don't like negotiating. It's not my forte. And I felt like the better job that I did, the more they would pay me. And was true most of the time, but there were people that just couldn't afford to, so that's how it started. So I like to think that my parents created this animal, a serial entrepreneur that was never told no, but had to find ways to keep up with the Joneses, and try to find some financial freedom and the ability to have a schedule on your time and work with over 1,000 employees now at this point and create an environment for more than just me and my family, but the greater Pro-Vigil family, and even greater the remote video surveillance and surveillance video and security in general, which I've grown to love. And so I think it all started. It started there, and then immediately after school, after college, went to work for a very, very small medical software company. It was a group of physicians in West Texas that invested in a medical transcription and medical billing company. And I came in and got any title I wanted, and they're the first to tell me titles are free. It's what do you do? And do you lead? How do you manage? You can have any title you want. Titles are free. So of course I picked a big title, and when we sold that business, I was the COO, not an operations guy by any means, but really not a sales guy either. Relationship guy. Love change, love seeing things morph into something greater, bigger, better. So I wouldn't say never satisfied, but definitely always changing, always looking for something better, which Pro-Vigil has done, and that's why it's gone up and up and up ever since. Not just me, but just the core values and beliefs that we have at the company, and just it's never enough. We can always do better. That tiny little business over 3 years went from 90,000, I believe, in revenue initially. The only revenue was from the doctors that actually invested in it. So we really didn't have any customers. Went out and found some big medical practices that believed in us and bought in. And we took that from about 90,000 in revenue in 3 years to almost 6 million. If memory serves me right, it was about 5.8 million. They sold it for somewhere within that range with a very minimal investment. And I sat there and looked and just was like, that was it. In 3 years, you can make, it's that easy? It's not, but I thought it was. They had established a lot of the parts of the business, the software, the platforms, the back-end operations prior to me getting there. So I was a bit naive in thinking it was that easy, but they did put away a lot of money. They trusted me. And so when we sold that, the buyer asked me to stay on for a year. I had a tiny piece of equity, so I won a little bit of money on that. Stayed on for a year. So I basically had a year to figure out what to do next. So I've already come out of college, gone into basically almost a startup, successful exit at that time 27, and thought, okay, now it's game time. I'm gonna have to come up with it. So I went to that same group of physicians and said, I need a majority of what you earned. Take it for another ride, right? Let's take that, call it $4+ million net profit that they made in a couple years on nothing, and let's take that for another ride, bigger one. And they said, okay, bring me something that makes sense. We had a huge operation in India before, about 550 employees. I'd already been traveling to India. We owned facilities there. We knew a lot of good managers. We had good political relationships in India. And so I knew we needed to offshore something that wasn't currently being done. And they were very clear about, we're not just going to do something that's already being done better. We absolutely want to do something that hasn't been done. So to my knowledge today, still, and nobody's challenged me yet, we are the first, definitely at scale, to ever offshore. And I use offshore versus outsource, not that either has a negative connotation, but offshore is more, they're your employees. They belong to the Pro-Vigil family, versus outsource, which is more a third party, less control. When you're building an industry, you're building something like what we did, you really need a lot of controls in place. They need to be your employees, and they need to want it as bad as you do. So that was never a question. And so I was standing in a Target superstore one day and looking around, and there's about 140 cameras in every Target. And I was thinking to myself, how many people are sitting in the back looking at these cameras, and what's possibly could be the ROI of doing something like that? Like, I mean, are there 4? Are there 6 people back there? I mean, they're not looking for people stealing, because it's just too easy. They're looking for store cleanliness, like garments on the ground, something laying in aisle 3, talking down to managers. There's a delivery truck out back. Somebody needs to come to the docks and open. What are they doing? I didn't know. I still don't know. I know that that's not the direction we went, but it was what inspired me. Thinking, what if I took that video of that location and all their locations and piped it to a central location, whether it was India or today AI or anything else, and was able to, they made a huge investment in that video system. And my belief is they weren't getting very much out of it. Maybe the occasional slip fall legal issue, but other than that, what is it really being used for? So the idea was never security. I didn't come from security, don't have a military background or law enforcement background. It really came from a standpoint of, you've invested in a system that you're not getting much out of. And a lot of that is labor cost, hiring, the ability to hire, where do you sit them? So I thought, naturally, let's take that, centralize that, one in India for the time being, right, to satisfy my investors. And we could have 30 or 40 people watching, sending reports into management about cleanliness and time and attendance and shipping and receiving. So that's where the ideas came from, and that's how I presented it to that group of physicians. I didn't do a very good job selling it, I guess. I hadn't really done much research on it, so went back and started looking at who's doing remote video monitoring, or who is, and these are all coined terms that now make a lot more sense, but then we were calling it a virtual guard. I mean, anything we could come up with to see who was out there doing it. And this was 2004, 2005. And I would find small companies doing something similar, a trailer on a construction site or at a home builder site, but there was never a mention of monitoring and being proactive. And so basically took that and ran with it. We built our first trailer behind one of the initial investors' houses in his backyard.
Oh, wow.
Hired a welder and an electrician and a carpenter and an IT guy, and then a former DPS officer to help us with the legal state requirements, and we went for it. So the group of physicians gave me a very nice loan that was unrestricted. So they just put all the trust in what I was going to do with the money, and that was very important to me. So day one, we've always had investors. We've always had groups interested in the business that are outside that have poured their money in to see this thing go, and it's been fun to watch that. So that's how it started. The very first trailer was deployed in Duncanville, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It was at a David Weekley Homes. They had one of their model homes set up, and when we showed up, they had our competitor, who at the time was called CPS Security, good friends with their founder, and so they were shooting us out, them in the front yard and us in the backyard, and they were going to see and test us, and they were going to see who responded and who didn't. We didn't know what we were doing. We blew up the breaker box by plugging into something we weren't supposed to. We were kicked off the site. And so, that's how it starts. And you pick it up, you learn from your mistakes. And I think that's one thing that we learned over and over and over again. You get knocked down, you get back up, pivot, use your resources, listen to people. And so that's what happened. And that's how Pro-Vigil came to be. It started in construction in Dallas, and hiring, an employee that was a dear friend. That you have to have people you trust. And early on, I'll still say this to this day, if probably the first 10 people we hired weren't all that we expected them to be, we could have failed many times, right? Because any one of those that didn't believe and have the same passion that I did could have dropped a ball or made a bad decision. And early on, it was a lot of money. We were pumping in a lot of money into this thing and not seeing returns immediately. It's a very capital intensive business. But that's where it started. So it started at standing in a Target store thinking you've got 12 months left and you're not going to have a job, but you have investors that trust you, and you've made them a good return once, and let's do it again. So long-winded way of saying it's been fun, and it was a great venture. How I ended up there, it's still, people are like, how do you go from medical software with a finance degree into a security space or a technology space? It just happens.
And here we are now. Yeah.
Be opportunistic, open-minded. Just because things have been done one way doesn't mean, that's kind of pet peeve of mine. Even within our business and our industry, just because this is how we've done it doesn't mean this is how we do it, which is strange coming from me after so many years and the executive team saying we're pivoting and we're going to do it this way. I love that. Things have to change, they have to evolve, and so not my baby, but something I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of the team and where it's gone, and one day I hope I'm sitting on the couch, watching TV, and I see it as a common name on TV or on the traded on the NASDAQ or just remember that, have grandkids and tell them about it. So it's great.
Well, that's amazing. That's coming from learning so much from your parents and just the work ethic and coming up into security, right? Who would have thought that?
Right.
It just happens. So, but that's an amazing journey. You know, we find ourselves where we're at today, of course, you know, for reasons, you know, it's just an amazing journey. So definitely excited about it. So what are the biggest challenges you faced in that journey?
Well, okay, so the biggest is definitely the fact that it really hadn't been done before. It's always difficult to be one of the first companies to build or invent or try to sell something, because you have to go educate first that it even exists, and then everybody that comes in behind you gets to enjoy the benefits of all the hard work you did to create an industry. And so I think that is definitely the biggest challenge. Every challenge that I can think of falls under that umbrella of educating, trying to hire and recruit. Expertise is not in that trade, right? There wasn't. The other challenges were technology at the time. We were still in like 2G cellular connectivity, like GPRS, and 3G was a big buzzword, and here we are trying to stream cameras, analog cameras, which most people don't know. I mean, we still had flip phones and Blackberries when this company started, and into an environment today that is streaming 4K technology over a cellular network at you know, cinema speeds and clarity. So I think the challenges were definitely that nobody's out there looking for you or your type of service, right? Then we were definitely just a guard replacement, and nobody was looking for or Googling, I need a guard replacement, or I need something other than a guard, or I need something other than a temporary fence, or whatever they're searching. They're not searching remote video surveillance back then. Ring didn't exist, Nest didn't exist, Arlo, all of the cameras that everybody has now, doorbell cam, none of that existed for many years. And so that was a challenge. We had to sell really hard. We had to definitely explain ourselves in a very short period of time in a job trailer. And then the flip side of that is, how do we deliver what we're selling when we're constrained to analog cameras and trying to digitize those and stream them over cellular networks and pick that up halfway around the world. So those are the challenges. One is it didn't exist prior, and two is the technology just wasn't there. And we had to push that. We had to go find technologies and substitute products and services and ways and negotiate with vendors to make something for us and build something that hadn't ever been done. And we even had to get one of the cellular network senior executives to sign an approval that we could stream video over their cellular network, and that was Sprint, so no more. T-Mobile now, but a senior vice president of whatever sat in the C-suite, actually had to sign a piece of paper that allowed us to stream video, because back then it was all about bandwidth and consumption. Utilizing too much of their tower space was a bad thing, and so I mean, you're talking about a lot of hurdles we had to jump to get there.
I sit here and I think back 17 years ago, and you know, beepers and those, like you said, the Motorola flip phones and Sidekick phones and all those, you know, who would have thought where we're at today, where you can look at your home, or, you know, in our situation, you know, customers can just pull up our portal and view their sites, right? And, you know, technology's come such a long way, and we're part of that, you know, so that's amazing. That's amazing.
We did a lot of things in a commercial environment that are now being done in a B2C world now, right? But we look back and we said, wow, these are things that we knew we needed to do. We couldn't get it done. So I mean, yeah, we've always, until our deployment of AI, I think that was the first real. It's the first time that we were able to start jumping ahead of all these constraints that we've had in the past, where we always had to rely on cellular companies to upgrade to 5G, right, to get better speeds. And so we're always waiting, and we're always fine-tuning and doing things that we had to do, put band-aids on it until they release this new codec or compression. And so, but now, and with AI, I think it was the first time that we were able to say, we're not waiting on IBM Watson or anything else, any other AI or anybody else that's sitting developing code. We're going to do it ourselves. And so I think that's huge for our company. Now that we don't have the constraints of all of our vendors and manufacturers and suppliers. We've got a very large software development team and crew that now are just, now they're making the path right for everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. It is just so amazing. So talk to me about the principles that remain consistent throughout the company's journey. So talk to me about that and where we started to where we are today. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just at a raw level, all I think about is just not giving up, and there's a lot of hard work. A less than 20-year industry from inset is not very old, so we still have a lot of challenges. We're still building platforms to meet our expansion and our growth and our needs, scalability. So I think the fact that there seems to always be a passion for the employees that work here, and I obviously have it. I had it day one. I see it in people today. I'm walking up to the building and see somebody in the parking lot, and they're on their phone and they're getting out of their car, so they're probably coming from a lunch break. They're already talking business. They're walking up with me. They're energetic. They're trying to problem solve. So I think really when you look at it, it's, do you want to be part of something really cool and special, and that's what I think Pro-Vigil is. I think there's not many places in my opinion that you can go work that we're recreating this place all the time, and what it is. And you and I are sitting in our new Surveillance Operations Center, our SOC, and still moving people in, still settling in here, and is a long time coming. And so, I mean, I think these are the things. This is us reinvesting in our employees in a work environment that is beautiful, and as well as showing our customer base, that we mean business, and that this is the real deal. You can fly in across the street. You can be here in 5 minutes, and you can see our operations and how our center works. And so, but I think it's the people. I mean, it goes back to the people, as cliche as that sounds. It is. Look at any great company with a great CSAT score, or Net Promoter Score, or just good Google reviews, which, who has that? Nobody happy to ever post, but I do think it's the people. And when you look back, I mean, the very first employee we ever hired is still at Pro-Vigil, and but when you look at those that have been here 15 years or more, I don't know, but there's a lot of them. Shame on me, I should probably know the number by now, but it's a lot. 15 years and 10-year plus and 5-year plus, and I think that is a testament. And it's growing, right? So there's a lot of stress on that. You have to grow with it. We're always hiring. Seems like there's always 30, 40 job recs open, which is always great to see. bringing in new blood and fresh ideas and people ready to push it and question, why and how we do things. And so yeah, I think it's definitely the people. The culture is always been to me the passion. They're the guys that nobody here just goes through the motion on a daily basis. They really are. They feel it, and if we make a mistake or don't do our job right, it costs our customers dearly, right? Both in monetary and us in trust. So we don't have that liberty. So we have to be passionate, we have to be accurate, we have to enjoy what we do, and we have to understand that what we do or don't do comes with consequences. So I think that's we're in a space that we're relieving pain from customers, and so in order to do that, you've got to have passion, you've got to enjoy what you do, you've got to be accurate, you've got to be professional.
Oh, 100%. Leading through change, and inspiring the next generation of people here at Pro-Vigil.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. So talk to me about what advice you would give to aspiring entrepreneurs in their own ventures.
Well, the boring answer that I would lead with, and I actually met somebody over the weekend that we had this conversation, and there's two things that are automatic for me, and it's whatever you think your revenue is going to be, cut it in half. Whatever you think your expenses are going to be and how much cash you're going to need, double it. That's for starters. So that's my easy answer is don't ever expect to sell what you think you're going to sell. Don't ever think you're going to live within this tight budget and I mean, it just doesn't work. Truth of the matter is, I think if you're honest and you're a hard worker and you hire the right people and you have a good vision and you go about it the right way, I think you typically see those businesses succeed. I think it's any one of those that you cheat on or don't. It's scary building a business. It's very scary. But you either have to jump in. If you go in with one foot, you're not going to make it. So I think that's it. You have to be all in. You need to understand that whatever your expectations are probably. I don't know an entrepreneur that's not optimistic, including myself. You really have to dial that back, which is very hard to do. So good partners, put good people around you. You need a very good support group. Sales itself is very up and down, right? Same with an entrepreneur or a startup. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna lose a customer and something's completely out of your control that was 25% of your early revenue, and you're struggling. These things happen, and so I think all of these things, both feed in setting realistic expectations, and if you're loaning money, that needs to be used for the business. So you got to figure out your own way to live. That's not really the responsibility of your investors, and working really hard at it. The hours. Some people say, well, I'm 46 now, and so I was 28, and the people say, oh, well, you've done well, and you're at 46, you're wherever you are that some people may be at a retirement age or whatever that is. The way I look at it is, I was at the office at 7. I worked till 3 a.m. And so if you take the average working hours in a week and you consolidate all that into a shorter period, 17, 18 years, that's how I look at it. It was what was required at the time to be successful, to work till 3 a.m. many days, and while you have a young family and you travel 200 days a year, and it's just part of it. So you need support from the family. You need a good support structure all the way around, and it's a wild ride. It's fun. I mean, I encourage everybody that wants to go build. I get real energized when I hear somebody say they want to go. I don't care what it is. Go start a lawn business or build fences. I get just as excited talking about them, about the opportunities and the possibilities there, and seeing the fire in somebody's eyes. You can see it. I now know, but you can see it, and they have it or they don't. A lot of times.
That's cool. That's super cool. There's so now in this time and age, there's so many people that have started their own little businesses and things like that, and so it definitely is an inspiration to see, again, your journey. It's amazing. And again, you're right. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are there to support you and help you, through those times. But you're right. A lot of restless nights and long evenings and early mornings and just things like that. So that's super amazing. So what message would you convey to all those who have supported the company's journey?
Thank you. I mean, what do you say? These are the people that helped you. I mean, you look at over 1,000 people now that are putting in countless hours, from the executive team all the way down. I mean, I think it's, for me, it's thank you. But I think it's also, don't settle. Let's keep it going, right? The way I don't view Pro-Vigil or any of our competitors as I don't know what makes one of us the winner. Who's the winner? Is it the biggest? Is it the most accurate? Is it the best? Is it the one that has the most net profit? No, probably not. It's the brand that people recognize. So there's no undisputed winner at this point. I don't believe. I think we're obviously right there. But I've always been pushing really hard to be the ADT of our space, right? I mean, that you need a home alarm system. That's what comes to mind. I mean, there's many other companies, but generically we'll just use the word ADT, or so I think I would say thank you. I would say don't ever become complacent here. We're relying on people to question why and how we do things and to push it. I think that's, again, you're talking about an industry that's less than 20 years old. It doesn't even know what it wants to be when it grows up. At 18, Pro-Vigil can't even drink yet, or 17, whatever it is. So yeah. it needs to, it's just getting out of high school. And that's one way to look at it. And so we need to usher this thing along and treat it for what it is. And it's maturing, but it's got a long way to go. And so there's so much opportunity, and there's so much that we need from this new group that's in here now. I mean, we've hired so many people in the last couple of years. We need them to question everything we do, why we do it, how we do it. Are the KPIs that we're currently measuring ourselves with, are those accurate? Is that good enough? If it's X days to do this, is that okay? If it was half that time, would it be better? Would the customer experience be better? How do we do that? Does it matter? Does it have priority? Is it something? So, yeah, a long way of saying thank you to everybody that's been here, those that even aren't here anymore or moved on or outgrown us, or we outgrew them, to those that have just joined this week even. Don't settle here. When I think back, what got us pretty far down the road was just not becoming complacent, just not being okay with this is how we do things. Most people haven't seen the change in just the mobile unit per se over the years, but there must have been 12, 13 different versions of that. And so it was just never enough. Things always needed to change. We always needed to do more. We always needed to get bigger. We always needed to grab more land, hire more. And so, yeah, no, I think, again, it's going to come back to the people and how we treat them. And I think setting up an environment where people can trust the organization, where they can grow, where they can question how and why we do things, I think is really important. And so part of building this new surveillance operations center, and then our engineering team is of a bunch of bright minds that are pushing it now. It's great to watch. I actually get to just take a back seat and kind of see all these people make this thing become next level company, and then that's all I ever wanted, right? This was never going to be my baby. I was never going to run it for 40 years and sail off into the sunset. I always knew it needed to be bigger, and I needed to get out of the way and help facilitate that, right? So I think that's how I've always thought about it, is that the brighter minds that we can bring in, those that really push it, those that give us all the time and effort, and we reward that as well. So,
well, it's amazing. So I'm super excited that I was able to sit with you today, and we're just walk through the journey. You lived it, you did it, you walked it. Here we are today. Like you said, I mean, we're in the SOC, and just absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you so much for everything you've done for the company, for all the individuals that are here, and we're really excited to be able to celebrate Founders Day on the 15th of September.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Well, guys,
Thanks,
thank you all
everybody.
so much.